of difficulty because of the pandemic, the results of the pandemic. Many of our friends and neighbors, and maybe ourselves, have had a loss of income, a change in job schedule, maybe a change in our job. We have, I have met lots and lots of families who have, through no fault of their own, really struggled with housing. And so tonight, I'm going to share with you some really interesting information about how the federal government and our state government want to make sure that when families are experiencing a loss of housing, that their children's education can continue uninterrupted. And that's really what the McKinney-Vento Homeless Education Act is all about. So I'm going to ask you to be patient with me with the technology. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to see a video that was produced and is out. It's a national public service announcement that was created at the urging of the people like me who work in the Central Florida area. Pinellas County, Polk County, Hillsborough County, Pinellas County, we all got together over the summer, and we were very concerned about how were families going to find out about the McKinney-Vento Homeless Education Act, because we felt like many families who might experience a loss of housing during the pandemic would have absolutely no idea how important it is to share that information with their school so that their children's education will again continue uninterrupted. So here we go. I'm going to play that public service announcement now. Dun, dun. Okay.
The child experiencing homelessness? It'll take more than a glance. Despite record numbers of U.S. children without a permanent experiencing homelessness remain largely invisible. And COVID-19 has made the problem even worse. Why does it matter? For a better future, every child needs an education. But families and youth experiencing homelessness can face unfair hurdles that make it difficult to enroll and participate in school. We all have a role to play, ensuring each child has the opportunity to learn. What can you do? It starts with looking closer. Just because homelessness isn't easy to spot, doesn't mean it's not there. If you've identified a child or a family who may need help, whether you are a teacher or a member of the community, learn more by talking with them with sensitivity. And finally, act by helping families and youth experiencing homelessness connect to resources at school and exercise their right to an education. Visit letseducateeverychild.org to learn more and find useful resources that can help families and youth experiencing homelessness. Together, we can ensure all children get the opportunities they deserve.
Okay, so that is the public service announcement. And now I'm going to open up a PowerPoint presentation that will help us see a little bit more about the McKinney Homeless Education Assistance Act. So the McKinney-Vento Homeless Education Act is part of the Every Student Succeeds Act. And this is a federal law out of the Department of Education that was enacted back in 1987. And it was reauthorized in 2015. And I want you to know that this is a law that has always had bipartisan support. So it really doesn't matter which side of the aisle you sit on. Every one of your Congress people and your senators in the federal government agree that it is important for every child to succeed, and that homeless children, by definition, who are eligible by definition, um, their education is very important, and there are extra protections for those children. So the main themes of the law are school access and stability. So our motto is, and if you ever get an email from me, you'll see my email tag says one child, one school, 1 year. And so what that means is that sometimes when families have a loss of housing, they have a loss of a lot of things besides the roof over their head. Sometimes they have a loss of documents. So for example, a family who has a loss of housing due to a house fire may have all of their documents, such as their children's birth certificates and physicals and shop records and previous school records. They might have been destroyed in that disaster. We saw that a lot when we had students coming to us after the many hurricanes that we've had. So that school access, regardless of documents, is very important. And then the stability piece is also very important. Knowing that your child can remain stable in their school while other things are being taken care of is often the difference between a child succeeding in school and not succeeding in school. Maybe they really love their teacher and they have their friends at their school, and maybe the family has had to move across town. The good news is their children do not have to change schools, and it's our responsibility to transport them back to what we call their school of origin. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a little bit. There are also some very special rights that students have. And it's always important to know that the federal government dictates some additional rights that are on top of everything else that any other student has. And those rights make sure that we are providing an equitable and quality education. So any service that's available to a non-eligible student is also available to our eligible students. And then we make sure that the education is of high quality. And then we support academic success. And so we have a team here in Hillsborough County called the Help Team. And we have been awarded a grant. And those grant dollars, some of those grant dollars are used to provide tutoring for students who are struggling. So once they are eligible for our service, then they can also qualify for that academic support. Some of the support that we provide is also specific to high school students, especially those seniors who are heading into college. And there may be some extra services and supports that they may not have been aware of that they're now eligible for. And then lastly, it offers a multi-level infrastructure to support homeless students. So that means that the law requires that my department work with community agencies and as well as the district staff and school level staff to support homeless students. So who are those students? Now we know that that not every student who's eligible is a student that may or may not have a roof over their head. Sometimes they can be eligible even though they are sharing housing maybe with someone else. But the official definition is a family or student who's lacking fixed, regular, and adequate residence. So if they are missing any one of those three foundations, then they would be eligible under McKinney-Vento. So let's talk very briefly about the causes of homelessness and the cause that may come into a family's life that would create an eligibility. So we know we've already talked about pandemic related issues, loss of job, loss of housing. Here in Hillsborough County, in the Bay Area, we have, unfortunately, we live in an area that is has a lot of employment where there is a low wages. And then we also live in an area where there is a substantial lack of affordable housing. Sometimes families lose housing because of an extended health issue. Maybe one or both of the parents become ill and have to go into the hospital and have a loss of income because of that. And then the issues continue to roll, and then there's a lack of housing because of that. Mental illness is another reason. Sometimes folks who are experiencing this health concern may have difficulty maintaining employment, which makes it difficult to afford housing. Domestic violence is another reason that sometimes families are left without housing. Family dysfunction, and lastly, natural disasters. And that could be a house fire, and we're all very aware of hurricanes here in Florida. So natural disasters are one of the other reasons that a student might be eligible. So for example, back with when we had the hurricanes in Puerto Rico, we had many students come here to live with relatives and continue their education here in Florida while their families were trying to reorganize their home back in Puerto Rico. And so those students were afforded all of the eligibility under McKinney-Vento, and their education was supported. So who are the children in transition? Now, this may or may not apply to you, but it's very important that you're here tonight so that you can learn about this topic. And you may know someone who maybe fits into one of these categories. It may be someone at your church or someone in your neighborhood or someone that you work with. And so I hope you will become my ambassadors to having this knowledge, so that when you run into someone who is experiencing this lack of housing, and you can let them know that they can go to their school and they can talk to their social worker at the school, and we can then start the process of making sure that they have the eligibility taken care of, and then all the supports. So one group of people that will qualify are those folks who are living in emergency or transitional shelters. You might be familiar with Metropolitan Ministry has a short-term shelter and a longer-term shelter. There's also the Spring, which is one of our domestic violence shelters. But they added something in particular this year to that definition, and they added FEMA trailers. And that is something new. So sometimes when we have hurricanes or major disasters, the FEMA will bring in temporary shelter in the form of trailers. And so any student in that situation would also be eligible. And then of course, any student that was abandoned in a hospital. So that's one area of eligibility. I'm going to skip the next one because that's really a trickier one, and I want to spend some time on it. And I'm going to move to the third item, which is those families who, and this is a long one, and it includes a lot of different people. So it's, and I want you to know that a lot of people don't read this sentence all the way to the end. And it's really right in the middle that there's some very interesting information. So for families who must live in their car temporarily, or maybe they have to live in a park or a temporary trailer park or a campground when they have no alternative accommodation, or they're living in a public space or maybe an abandoned building. The next words are very important: substandard housing. Now, substandard housing is, there is no clear-cut definition, which is a good thing for us because we get to decide what substandard housing is. And so when we look at the definition in the dictionary, it talks about housing that is not standard to the health and safety of the individuals who are living there. So for example, some of the families that we have qualified for this fantastic law and service, they are paying for their housing, but the housing is inadequate. It is substandard, meaning that maybe they don't have running water, or the house is not set up for electricity, or the house is overcrowded. There are many families that, because of remember I told you that one of the important things about Hillsborough County that makes this a challenge for all of us is that Hillsborough County has a lack of affordable housing. And many families are forced to rent properties that are substandard, and because that is all that is available. They may rent a single room within someone else's house. And because that room may not have all the facilities, including bathroom facilities and kitchen facilities, then we can find that those students eligible under that criteria, and then they can benefit from the services that are provided by McKinney-Vento. So I'll move on. Bus and train stations, public or private places that are not designated or ordinarily used as regular sleeping accommodation for human beings or similar settings. So I want you to really pay close attention to that substandard housing. We work very closely with families to determine that whether their housing meets that criteria. And it is tricky because it's not a judgment by the school district. It is, I like to say that the good news is that we have an excellent law that protects and provides for students who are in this situation. And we hope that the situation will be very brief. The last one is those folks who are living in hotels, motels, trailer parks, or on a temporary basis due to a lack of alternative adequate accommodations. We saw many families have to move into hotels over the summer when the pandemic first started. They were folks who maybe were sharing housing with older relatives or friends. And when the pandemic hit, a lot of people really didn't know what to do. And they felt like they could no longer share their home with other people. And so that brings us back to this, to the second item, which is sharing housing of other persons due to a loss of housing or other economic hardship or similar reason. And a lot of people refer to this as doubled up. So so this is different than being roommates, where both parties are on the lease. And I had a roommate after I got out of college. So we weren't sharing housing due to a loss of housing or economic hardship. We were roommates. We were both on the lease. Many people are forced to share housing of other persons. It might be a relative, it might be a friend, but the economic hardship pieces when, for example, and this is just one of many examples, let's say that the person is allowing a family to stay with them, but if the landlord were to find out, the landlord could ask the friend to move out of the house at any given moment. And so remember, that takes us back to that definition of regular. So if there is no legal, if the person with the children has no legal right to stay in that house, then that is the sharing of housing where they would be able to be eligible for the program. This is a little bit trickier, and we work very hard with our school staff so that they understand when the sharing of housing is McKinney-Vento eligibility. So children have several rights in school. So every child, regardless of their housing situation, has the right to a free and appropriate public education. And that's in Florida statute, and that goes until they're 16 years old. But children in transition who fit into that federal definition of homelessness under McKinney-Vento have additional rights. So the first right, I talked about this earlier, is that immediate school enrollment. So it's very important that we do not delay in enrolling students in school, and they have the right to attend. And they have and they are given some special circumstances under what we call school of origin. So let me give you an example. And I'll go back to the example of the family who maybe had a devastating fire. Okay. And when the house was deemed no longer able to live in, this family that I'm using as an example may have gone to live with relatives across town. So the children were, whatever school they were attending the day before that event or the fire took place, that is deemed their school of origin. And then the school where they have moved to temporarily would be considered their neighborhood school. Now, research tells us that the most appropriate and the best thing for the students' continued education is to remain at the school of origin, where they have their teacher that they're familiar with, they know the campus, they're comfortable with their friends at school. And so all of the disruption that has been, that the fire caused within the family, we can maintain their stability in school. And for some students, that really decreases the amount of trauma that they experience due to that lack of housing. So we can assist families in understanding what their choices are. It is up to the family, and it is an informed decision. So when families are in this circumstance, we want to make sure that they understand the pros and cons of staying at the school of origin and the pros and cons of going to the neighborhood school. And no two situations are the same, but we want to be there to talk through that decision. And the student can stay at that school of origin for the duration of the school year. And then we will provide transportation to and from that school for the duration of that school year. And that transportation is specific to the school of origin. Now, a lot of people get a little bit confused and think that families who qualify under McKinney-Vento can choose any school in the district. That's just not true. We do and we can assist with magnet and choice applications during this period of time. Those are options. But the truth of the matter is, the two choices that families have are to remain at the school of origin or to go to their neighborhood school. And immediately upon enrollment, a student who qualifies and is eligible under McKinney-Vento will receive free breakfast and lunch from the very first day and through the duration of that school year, no matter what happens. Again, we hope that this displacement is a very short-lived experience, but regardless of how long or how short that event is, the eligibility remains for the balance of the school year. So, so even if the family becomes rehoused, I like to always give the not silly, I'd like it to be a very serious example of, even if you win the lottery and buy a great big mansion, the eligibility does not go away for the remainder of that school year. And then the last one is also very important, that our students receive prompt resolutions about school placement, which includes special education, bilingual education, gifted, and remedial programs. This is very important when students are moving from a disaster area into our area. This became very important for those families coming from Puerto Rico, because I don't know if you knew this, but many of their school records were destroyed in the hurricane. So this was a big challenge for our school district to do, but we met that challenge quite well. So what other supports can the child that is eligible receive? So in addition to the federally mandated benefits, here in Hillsborough County, our help team will assist with the development of an academic plan and post-secondary planning. So for those seniors who are having that housing issue during their senior year, we have school counselors, in addition to the counselors that they have at their school, that will help with post-secondary planning. They can assist with those FAFSA applications and making decisions about college or technical school or the military or whatever their plan is after they graduate. Again, we provide that transportation assistance. And here in Hillsborough County, while students are waiting for transportation, we can provide Heartline bus passes or fuel assistance in the way of a gas card. That's what we call them. They're a gift card to a local, a variety of local fueling stations, such as Shell or Racetrack or Wawa, those kinds of things. We also provide academic support and tutoring. I'm very proud to say that we work with a tutoring company called Advanced Learners. And during the right after March, about this time last year, you all remember, we all went home for spring break and we didn't come back. And we all struggled with how to finish out that year. I'm very proud to say that our tutoring company was able to shift into virtual tutoring immediately. No other county in the state was able to do that other than Hillsborough County. So I'm very proud of the company that we chose. And today, they can provide tutoring either in person or virtual. We also support our students with backpacks, school supplies, and uniforms, and additional referrals throughout the within our community to other agencies. So there are important questions that parents should always ask the school, whether they're experiencing homelessness or not. It's always important to know the answers to these questions. So will your child receive a free lunch? Is assistance available for school supplies and uniforms? Is there a preschool program at your school? Is there a before and after school program? Our help team can assist with not the daily rate of the after school program, but if there is a charge to apply, we can pay that charge. Our host program that's run by Hillsborough County Schools charges a registration fee. Oh, I found the word. The registration fee for their after school program. And for middle school children, it's about $30. So our eligible students can have that paid on their behalf. We can also assist with some summer programs as long as funds are available. Here's a really good question. If we change schools, can my child's records be transferred to the new school? Of course they can. Here in Hillsborough County, we have a system. And then my office is there to support if there's any delay. And we often work with other states and other counties within Florida. There's a person like me in every county, in every school district nationwide. So I often work with other people that have the same job that I do so that we can expedite those records being sent to our district. If we move, is transportation available back to this school? And I've already answered that question, but that's a good question to ask in case the person that you're asking the question is not aware. You already know the answer to the question. It's just a matter of getting it arranged. What can I do if my child is falling behind academically? And are there tutoring services available for my child? So at that school level, if the teacher is concerned that the child is falling behind or the parent is concerned, then absolutely there are tutoring services available. I mentioned advanced learners. Now we provide that tutoring for students who are in 3rd grade to 12th grade. And then for our kindergarten, 1st grade and 2nd grade children, we use a program that's run by the Children's Home Society. I didn't mean to click that. I'm going to try and go back. Okay. There we go. And then this is a very important question, especially nowadays, is what is the best way to communicate with my child's teacher? And we are all struggling. In fact, tonight we're doing a Zoom meeting. And I know that many schools are using the Zoom platform. We're all struggling with ways to communicate with one another, but at each school, that's done a little differently. So knowing how that is done appropriately at your child's school is very important. So you can see that all these questions are good questions, whether you're struggling with housing or not. I wanted just to give you a snapshot so that you are aware of how this issue affects our county. So I'm showing you last year's numbers. So last year we identified 449 students who were living for a day or more in an emergency or transitional shelter. We identified 3,398 students who were living with another person in a shared or doubled up situation. We identified 238 students living in cars or public spaces. 694 students were living in hotels or motels. And that gave us a grand total of 4,779. Now, we had a grant goal that was around 5,825. We were shooting for a 4% rate of our free and reduced lunch. This is, I will tell you that having families feel confident and comfortable with the staff at their school to be able to self-identify can be very difficult for some families. And so as my ambassadors out in, now that you have become aware of the issue and the benefits and the services, you can share with your friends and neighbors and relatives, if you're in this situation, that this is something that there are protections for, and they should seek out and self-identify as being eligible under this criteria, so that they can receive those benefits and then become connected at the school with folks who are going to make sure that their child's education, they have good success. So this is my team. I am, again, Laura Tucker, the homeless liaison. We have 2 school social workers. We have Callie Love and Dr. Shamara Bird, who work on either side of the county. And then we have 2 school counselors, Randy Bain and Jamila Tippett, and both of those ladies are just fantastic school counselors, and they are very helpful for our students who are connecting them to the tutors. And then they work specifically with our high school students to make sure that their education is going and that they are going to graduate. And then we have Dina Kinsey, who's a data processor, who works out of our office and does a lot of training with our school-based staff to make sure that our students are identified so that we can provide those services. And there's our phone number as well. And I understand that Ms. Fullwood is going to be recording this so that you can have access to this presentation in case you're not ready to write down all that good information. What you do need to remember tonight is that we are the HELP team, HELP. That's easy to remember. And our phone number is really easy to remember. It's 315, and then it spells help. So that is the way to get in touch with us. And we are always available to talk to families to help them with that eligibility piece. So I'm going to stop sharing. And Angela, I know you're there.
I am. Thank you so much.
And hey, look at that. I did 30 minutes just like you asked me to. Wow.
You did amazing. That was such a wealth of information. Thank you so much for being on with us and sharing our process and procedures and look fors for families to help, because that, you know, in times like this, we all just need to support one another. At this time, if you have any questions, you are able to ask. A lot of people are wanting to know if they can get a copy of the presentation. And yes, I do have your email address, so I can send you a copy of the presentation. Again, it is being recorded, and there will be a follow-up email for you to get the entire recording on our YouTube channel. And if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, then you will be notified of any um, sessions, power hours that we have, any new videos that have been uploaded. You will get a notification that one has been uploaded. So at this time, if you have any questions for Ms. Tucker, go ahead and start asking.
So Kathleen, Joseph, I see your comment says, thank you for this presentation, very useful for me and the organization I work with. Can you let us know what organization you work with? Hopefully Kathleen is still there.
She works with Seeds, the Children's Home Network.
Oh, and I mentioned you in my presentation. I know that you're very excited about that. And yes, our Seeds is a wonderful partner with the school district. They do lots of things with the school district and they work with lots of families. And they're a partner that we use in the school district to help us identify students who qualify under McKinney-Vento. So Kathleen, if you would like me to come and do a presentation specifically to your staff, if you have new staff that don't know about our program, please feel free to reach out to me and I can do a virtual training like this, or I can do it in person, whichever you would like. But I would love to be able to meet your staff.
Thank you for that.
Oh, we have two Seeds people on our.
That is awesome. Thank you.
Oh,
thank
wow,
you, partners.
Yeah.
This is a great information because a lot of times people don't understand. I appreciate you going through some of the myths that we hear about the McKinney-Vento Act. So I appreciate all of the information that was very helpful to help us with navigating that information and being able to share truthful information with our family and our friends.
Right. And one of the nice things, the school district can't rehouse families, but we do have access to partners and services. And we know people out there that are the helpers. I think we've heard a lot lately to look for the helpers in the world. And we know all those helpers, people like the folks at Seeds and in the Children's Home Society Network. Oh, sorry, your network now. I'm very old, so I might call you by some other name. We do have lots of opportunities for families and we have lots of connections. So we do connect families with those services. We don't have magic wands. I wish we did, but we're a good start for many families. Natalie's asking, I wonder if you guys help training classes or school for parents who want to go back to school. Yes, we can connect families with those resources. Hillsborough County Public Schools has a wonderful adult education department, and we have lots and lots of programs right inside of Hillsborough County Public Schools. You can find information about our offerings on our website, the school district website, but we can connect families with lots of different resources that are out in the community. There's a lot going on right now. And the CARES Act put a lot of money out there in training. There are several courses that I have heard of lately that are not 4-year programs. They're 18 months or 6 months. So yes, we in the school district can provide you a list of those. And there's always 211. If you're not comfortable talking to your school, 211 is a great resource for families, and they have access to a lot of different programs. I'm sorry to hear that, Natalie. I know that that a lot of jobs were completely destroyed by the pandemic. I work with a lot of families that had their dream job, and because of the pandemic, especially in the entertainment or food industry and many other industries, um, jobs have just disappeared. And so hopefully we can assist um, with connecting you. I did hear about, and I'm not plugging Metropolitan Ministries, but it's going to sound like I am. But I was on a Zoom call the other day, and I don't know, Natalie, if you're interested in something like this, but Metropolitan Ministries has a top-notch culinary arts program that is absolutely free. And the chef that teaches this class is dynamite. So if that's something that you're interested in, reach out to Metropolitan Ministries, let them know that you're interested in the culinary arts program, and it's absolutely free. That is typically a very expensive course to take. And it's not a forever course. And they assist with job placement, and they're very successful with that, even today in the world of COVID. So Natalie, if you will email me, my email is in the chat box, laura.tucker@sdhc.k12.fl.us. I know it's long and involved, but it's there in the chat if you can see it. If you will email me separately or call me, remember my number is 813-315-HELP, and just ask for Laura Tucker. You'll listen, and you could push a button when you hear my name. And I will be at the office tomorrow, Natalie. Give me a call, and I'll see if I can't connect you to all the right people.
Is that 813-315-HELP?
Yes.
Okay, I put it in the chat. And we have someone who works at Eckerd who's on the line and saying that this information will be so helpful to them and their work. So appreciate that.
And the same offer is to you, Eckerd. If you would like me to come and talk to your staff about this, again, we all are in this together. And you have families who are experiencing loss. And if we can support your clients, we are here to do that. Let's see, Lucy asked, which course from Metro Men? I couldn't hear. They have a culinary arts program there. So learning to be a chef or working in the food industry. The chef that runs that program is absolutely dynamite.
Are there any other questions?
Natalie, when you call me tomorrow, just remind me that we met tonight on Zoom.
Well, this has been a very wonderful informational session. Thank you so much, Ms. Tucker, for being with us tonight.
You're welcome. Anytime.
And again, all of the participants, you will be receiving a follow-up email with our YouTube channel information. Again, when you click on it, if you subscribe, then when this video and any other sessions that we have are uploaded, you will get a notification. So I just thank you all for being here, taking the time out for being with us tonight. And again, Laura, you're amazing. Thank you so much for helping our families and helping the students in Hillsborough County Public Schools. It was wonderful to meet
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. And with that, I want everyone to have a good evening. God bless you. Good night.